Listen,
Nobody talks about this, but your body is running a 2 million-year-old program right now. And modern life is breaking it. Not slowly. Not gradually. Every single day you sit for more than a few hours, something inside you starts sending a quiet signal, a low hum of wrongness you can't quite name. That feeling is ancient. And it has a very specific cause. Let's go back. Not 100 years. Not 1,000. Try 50,000 years back, to the African savanna just before sunrise. A human wakes up. No mattress. No alarm. No coffee waiting on a counter. Just the cool morning air and the immediate, uncomplicated need to move. This person, your direct ancestor, would cover somewhere between 9 and 14 kilometers before the sun hit its peak. Not because they signed up for a wellness challenge. Not because some study told them to. Because that was just how a normal day worked. Researchers from Harvard spent years studying the Hadza, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer communities on Earth, living in Tanzania. And what they found was quietly extraordinary. Even today, living the closest thing to a prehistoric lifestyle that still exists, Hadza adults move more in a single day than the average desk worker moves in an entire week. Read that again. 1 day versus 1 week. And here's where it gets interesting, because the story isn't really about steps or distance or fitness. It's about what your brain still expects from your body. And what happens when it doesn't get it. For most of human history, movement wasn't something you scheduled. It was woven into every hour of every day. You didn't walk to the gym. You walked to find water. You walked to follow the animals. You walked because standing still in the open was genuinely dangerous. Movement wasn't exercise, it was just being alive. Now here's what the science actually reveals, and this is the part most people get completely wrong. We assume ancient humans were exhausted. Constantly on the edge of collapse. Sprinting from predators, hauling heavy loads, living in a permanent state of physical stress. That's the image we carry around. But the evidence points somewhere else entirely. Anthropologist Daniel Lieberman at Harvard, one of the world's leading researchers on human movement, describes our ancestors as persistence hunters. And the key word there is persistence, not speed. Ancient humans didn't chase prey by outrunning it. They couldn't. A lion, a deer, a wildebeest, any of those animals would leave a human completely behind in a flat sprint. So our ancestors did something far more clever. They jogged. Slowly, steadily, patiently, sometimes for 3 or 4 hours at a stretch. Not sprinting. Not pushing. Just an easy, sustainable pace that wore the animal down through heat exhaustion while our ancestors stayed cool, kept breathing, kept moving. And here's the extraordinary part. Their bodies were so well adapted to this kind of sustained movement that it barely registered as effort. Their heart rate stayed low. Their breathing stayed calm. Long-distance movement wasn't a strain on the prehistoric body. It was the comfortable state. A 2017 study published in Current Biology, led by researchers Herman Pontzer and David Rachlan, tracked Hadza men and women across different seasons, different ages, different conditions. Even elderly Hadza individuals in their 60s and 70s were consistently more active than the average young adult in a modern city. But the study found something even more unsettling. When they measured the Hadza's cardiovascular health, metabolic markers, inflammation levels, everything the medical world uses to assess long-term health, the numbers looked like something from a different species. Almost no hypertension. Almost no type 2 conditions. Inflammation levels so low they barely registered. Not because of some special diet. Not because of genetics. Because they never stopped moving. And then there's one more layer to this, something that flips the whole picture upside down. Lieberman's research found that our ancestors didn't just move more. They rested differently too. They sat on the ground. They crouched. They changed positions constantly. Even their version of rest involved more muscle engagement than a modern person's version of activity. There was no true stillness. No 8 hours locked into one position. The body was never designed to hold still. Not even to relax. So here is the part that should actually bother you. Modern health advice treats movement like a supplement. Something you add to the day. An hour at the gym, a walk after dinner, 10,000 steps tracked on a device on your wrist. But a landmark paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found something deeply uncomfortable. Even people who exercise for a full hour every day and then sit for the remaining 8 or 9 hours show significantly worse health outcomes than people who simply move a little, consistently, throughout the entire day. Your body doesn't run on a point system. You can't bank movement in the morning and cash it out all day. The system doesn't work like that. It was never designed to work like that. So next time you stand up from your desk for no clear reason, when you pace around the room while you're thinking, when you feel that low restlessness on a day you haven't left the house, you're not being distracted. You're not being inefficient. You're being exactly what 2 million years of survival shaped you to be. That quiet signal, that hum of wrongness, that's not anxiety. That's your nervous system doing its job. Sending the same message it has sent since before language existed. We should be moving. Something is wrong. Here's what I keep coming back to. We live in a world that treats stillness as productivity and movement as a luxury. And on some level, most of us have accepted that. We sit, we scroll, we wonder why we feel low-grade off without knowing why. But your body hasn't accepted it. It's still running the old code. Still expecting the savannah, still counting on the morning walk, still waiting for the movement that never comes. The Hadza don't have a word for exercise. They don't need one. Movement isn't a category in their lives. It's just life itself. What would it look like to treat it that way? That's the question worth sitting with, preferably while you're standing up and walking around. If this made you think differently about your own body, Sapiens has more of these waiting for you. Subscribe. Your ancient brain already knows it needs this.